And YouTube is now live, just to let you guys know.
We're live on YouTube. How exciting.
Okay, it's looking like the 740 number. Can you possibly identify yourself, or do we know who that is?
Yes, this is Dale Dietrich.
Very good, Dale. Thank you. Thank you. So right now we do have 4 commission members here. Do we want to wait a minute? I prefer to start meetings on time, just out of respect for everyone's time. But I've kind of just nodded the heads, I guess, for those that I can see. Do you want to go ahead and get started? Okay, very good. Thank you very much. I appreciate you all coming. We are meeting for the Ohio Small Governments Capital Improvement Commission, May the 12th, 10 a.m. 2022. This is our virtual meeting via Cisco WebEx on public access via OPWC YouTube channel. So anyone that does want access can access via the YouTube channel. Once again, I'd like to welcome everyone to our 2022 commission meeting, and we'll officially call this meeting to order. I am Mark Zimmerman, the chair of the Small Governments Commission. For those that may not know, I'm honored to serve in that capacity. We will begin with roll call. Jen, you want me to do that, or do you want to?
I can do that.
Okay.
Commissioner Alonso, Commissioner Bobnovic, Commissioner Dietrich,
Yes, present.
Commissioner Dotson.
Here.
Commissioner Martin,
Here.
Commissioner Wolf,
Present.
Commissioner Heigl, Commissioner Roush, Commissioner Stevenson,
Present.
and Chairman Zimmerman.
Present. Thank you. We do have a quorum. I guess at this point we will have any introductions for those that are here. Maybe just so that those who may be viewing may not know who we are representing. Maybe just go around. I am Mark Zimmerman, the Seneca County engineer up in Tiffin, Ohio, and chairman of the Small Governments Commission. So I don't know if we just want to go around. Maybe Dale, if you want to introduce yourself.
Yes, Dale Dietrich, representing District 18 and Monroe County, Benton Township.
Thank you. Commissioner Wolf.
Steve Wolf, Clay Township trustee, representing District 4.
Thank you. Commissioner Martin.
Muted.
Oh, sorry, you're muted.
Well, that's good because I messed that up the first time. Joe Martin, Township Trustee, Brown Township, Franklin County, representing District 3.
Thank you. Commissioner Dotson.
Travis Dodson, I'm the village administrator for the village of Bethel, Claremont County.
Very good. Commissioner Stevenson.
Good morning. I'm Andrea Stevenson with the Ohio Department of Transportation. I'm the administrator for the Office of Local Programs, and I'm sitting in on behalf of Director Marchbanks.
Thank you. Jen.
I'm Jennifer Klein. I am the new Ohio Public Works Small Government Administrator. I've been with Ohio Public Works for 7 years now, but this is my first year being Small Government Administrator.
Awesome. And Will, I know you're on, and I know you're not shown, but you want to introduce yourself?
I'm Will Gaberly, and I'm working technical support for Jennifer and the rest of the meeting. Thank you.
Very good. So just a special thank you to Will. I guess now that we're actually recording, for putting this together. I know all the behind the scenes works are often not recognized, but I want to make sure we do that. Thank you very much for getting this meeting put together for us. Did I miss anyone for introductions? If not, very good, thank you. So the next thing on our agenda is the approval of the May 13, 2021 meeting minutes. Those should have been sent out, or those were sent out and should have been received via email. Did everyone have a chance to review those minutes? Is there a motion to approve? Please
Make
state
a
your,
motion.
I'm sorry, please state your name and just for the recording and then that you move or second.
Steve Wolf motions to accept the minutes from the 2021 meeting.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Joe
Travis
Martin
Dodson
seconds.
will second.
Very good. Thank you. Is there any discussion? If not, we'll proceed to vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed, nay. Motion carries. Thank you. I will sign those and I will get those sent to you after the meeting, Jen, so you have those. Do you need an official signature copy or is a scanned copy? Will that suffice?
Scan copy is good.
Okay, because I can mail them if I need to. So I will take care of that right after the meeting. The next thing on our agenda is the vote for officers. We elect a chair and a vice chair. Those are the only two offices we do, right?
Mhm.
Every year. I have served in the capacity of chair for several years. I am honored to continue to do so. But I certainly do not want to stand in the way of any other commission member that is interested in doing so. So if any commission members, if there are any nominations from the floor, and just because we are so separate from each other, if anyone is interested in nominating him or herself, then we'll take those as well. So if you would, this would be the appropriate time.
I'll nominate Mark Zimmerman as chair.
Thank you. And if we want to just, are there any other nominations? If not, we will maybe just run these together and a nomination for vice chair. I think that Sam is that correct?
Yes, that's
Okay,
correct.
Sam Alonso is the vice chair. He is not here with us today. I'm sure he would be willing, but I'm not going to speak for him. But we can because he's not here, so the railroad can come through. Are any other commission members interested in serving as vice chair? If not, we will, by unanimous consent, nominate Sam Alonso as the vice chair, which makes our slate of officers Mark Zimmerman as the chairperson and Sam Alonso as the vice chairperson. Is there a motion to that effect?
This is Dale Dietrich. I make that motion.
Thank you. Is there a second? Joe?
Second.
Very good. You've been trying to jump in there, so I figured I'd give you one there. So it's been properly moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion carries. Thank you very much. And I would be honored to serve for another year. So
Thanks, Mark.
you're welcome. I very much appreciate this. This is one of the best statewide programs I think we have as far as expenditure of funds and really getting money out there to those that need it. So
Mark,
it's
you
an
do a
honor.
great job.
So the next order of business, I will turn this over to Jen and for the round 36 administrators recommendation, our recommendations for where we are in our program. Hopefully everyone got the spreadsheet and was able to look at where we are in the program this year. So Administrator Jen?
Do you want me to pull up the spreadsheet?
I think that'd be great because that way that it'd be recorded that way. And that way we would have a public record of it.
Perfect. Let's share that screen. Okay, you should see an Excel file now.
Yep.
Perfect. So we are, well, first I'll start with our available funding. Our total available funding for this round is $25,745,196. I received 120 applications with total requests of $51,899,519 of those 120 applications, 6 projects were not scored. 2 did not cure their grant below the $500,000 grant limit. 1 withdrew their project, and 2 were deemed ineligible by the chairman and I because of the scope of work, and 1 was funded by the district. I'm recommending 57 projects be funded, with a cutoff score being at 63 points. All scores are ranked according to the tiebreaker. Of the 120 applications, 25 of them were 6th or 7th ranked at their district level. And of the recommended 57 to fund, 6 of those are 6th or 7th ranked projects at the district level. You can see on the spreadsheet the breakdown of village versus township applications versus the funding. So 77% of the applications were from villages, and 91% of the funded applications, recommended funded applications, are from villages. And you can see the breakdown of road and culvert versus water, wastewater, stormwater. So 53% of the applications were road and culvert projects, and 42% of the recommended funded projects are road and culvert. And I highlighted for a visual effect, you can see the road and culvert projects have a gray, and any township projects have a blue highlighting. And over in the scoring section, you'll see highlighted in yellow are the projects that were 6th or 7th ranked project at the district level. And that continues down the spreadsheet. Are there any questions about the slate as presented?
Okay, I do have a couple of maybe just some comments for the commission as far as looking at this. We have tried over the course of many years to try to bring some I don't want to say fairness, but just say equity into the different types of programs we have as far as road program and the sewer and water program. It was not too many years ago that almost all of our road programs were township programs, and almost all of our water and wastewater projects and storm projects were village projects. And I think while we have a very good distribution of type of project, we I think have done a very good job of making sure that road projects are equitable to sewer and water projects. And we can see that by the fact that we have a 42 to 58 split. That's pretty good as far as program goes. But as far as townships to villages, now a 9% to a 91% split, there's a pretty big disconnect there. In looking at the scoring, it's very difficult to find that there are 1 or 2 metrics that are responsible for that. But as we know, our program is voted on every 10 years. And part of the support we have for our program is making sure that we are able to support all those agencies that are able to be funded, which means townships and villages. So I don't know, just something to think about or food for thought for our commission. If you would look at the scoring and how things were scored, like I said, there doesn't seem to be one particular metric that we're using that is greatly favoring townships or greatly favoring villages over townships. But we might need to look at some point at trying to recover some of the equity that we had in the past. Just long-term support of the program. You know, when townships aren't getting funded, they're less likely to apply. And if they're less likely to apply, they're less likely to support. You know, every 10 years when we go for renewal, and our townships, I know up here in Seneca County, that, you know, that you can't get more grassroots than that. So our townships talk to their constituents, and their constituents are the ones that vote. So just some thoughts, you know, take a look at those spreadsheets, see if there's anything you can see. You know, we would certainly, I think, prefer if we could find a little better balance than 91% to 9% for our villages to our townships. By no fault of the program, this is just the way, this just seems to be the way our program has moved. We did a great job of, you know, having road projects and having water and sewer projects. It just now seems like those road projects are also village projects. So be thinking about that. You know, it's something that it's not we need to rush to fix, but I think it is something that we do need to keep in the back of our minds as we're going forward, that our program is a statewide program, and we want to touch and reach as many constituents and as many constituent and political subdivision groups as we possibly can. With that, thank you for the time in my little soapbox. I do that from time to time, but I just want to make sure that our program is strong and stays strong over the next, you know, course of the next rounds of funding, and the course of the next time we go to the voters to ask and the legislator to appropriate funds. So with that, are there any other comments about the program and recommendations?
Do you know what the breakdown was last year as far as percentage wise, village versus township? Was it the same disparity?
That I do not know on the top of my head.
So last year we did not. I tell you, I let me see if I still have it. I was looking at that this morning, and I don't have it up anymore. No, but you know, maybe. And I'd be happy to do it. I've got all of the programs for the last several years stored in my email. If the commission is interested, I'd be happy to kind of put together a little, maybe over the course of the last 5 years, if I have that much data, which I think I do, to kind of show just how many township, how many village projects we have done. And I'm not trying to take anything away from villages. These are all great projects. They're all great projects. But there's just a big disconnect right now. Maybe I'll take a look at those numbers and send them out to the commission, or maybe I send them to Jen, and maybe you could send them out, forward them to the commission, and answer that question. Does that sound reasonable?
Yeah, that's perfect.
Okay. Yeah, I'll work on that.
One other thing, I know last year we had talked about whether to continue the 6th and 7th round, or 6th and 7th ranked projects, because I think only one was funded last year. It looks like 6 were funded this year, which is, it seems to be better. I mean, what are your thoughts, Chairman, on that?
Yeah, we actually talked about that, and I mean, I guess as far as the number of projects that were funded out of those 6 and 7s, and the amount of additional workload that our administrator puts in, it's you know, we had thought, I think, and maybe in the bigger OPWC program, the fact that we moved towards the portal, that there would be this opportunity to take as many applications as we want and just let the computer algorithms do what they do and spit out a list of 1 through 57 projects, and doesn't matter how many we submit. But I can tell you from just in our conversations over the course of the last several weeks, that more projects does mean a significant amount of work for our administrator. So Jen, I don't know, do you have thoughts on that?
Yes, I was surprised by how many 6th and 7th ranked projects got above the line, just based on what Linda told me in the past that last year was only one. I know this is only the second year that we've scored all 7 projects for a district. But yes, it was a lot of work, 120 projects. And our new system was in its infancy, so I am better adept at using our new system now. But going forward, even as you mentioned on one of our phone calls, just about equity of spreading across the whole state, if we are funding 7 projects in one district, do we want to spread the wealth across more across the whole state, since it is such a competitive program?
Yeah, and so that's a discussion we can have. For instance, she was mentioning if we have 6 projects or 7 projects that got to that 6 and 7 mark, that means that district got all 7 of their projects, which means other districts did not. However, we have recognized and realized, for years, this is a statewide competitive program. And it's entirely possible that those districts that got 7 projects are the districts that are most in need. And I would love for all the money to come to Seneca County, and I'm sure everyone would love for all the money to come to their village or all to their county or their region. But the reality is that we need to put money where it is best serves our constituents. So there's a plus and there's a minus to having that many projects. I don't know, there was a big disconnect this year from last, with only 1 last year and I think 7 this year, right?
6.
6. I'm sorry, 6. Okay. 6 this year. I don't know if we want to kind of wait 1 more year and see what happens next year and see if that continues, or if we want to, reduce it down to 5. I certainly don't think we should open it up into more than 7. But what's the thoughts of the commission?
My question is, what was the purpose? What was the test? What was the reason for going up to 7? I mean, what were we trying to accomplish, and is that panning out the way we thought it would?
Well, we went to 7 with the understanding that, or with the hope that with the new portal, that the number of projects that were submitted would not increase the amount of time for our administrator by very much. And since everything isn't being done by hand, if you're looking at 5 per district or 7 per district, then it is not going to add a great deal of time. Also, we do have projects that fall out because they are deemed to be ineligible. And those projects, since they submit 7, those projects can fill in if one of those projects were kicked out due to ineligibility. And really, just because we thought it would be easy to do, we decided to just score all 7 and put them in the system. It is why we did that.
And you got rid of the intent to apply, because that was a confusing week that, the districts sent 7, 5 plus 2, and then everyone had to say, yes, we do want to officially apply to small government. And if they did not say that, then you move down to those 2 contingencies. So to get rid of that process, we just said, send all 7 and we'll score all 7. Yeah.
Any thoughts?
My Steve Wolf, my opinion is that with the funding coming cycles being messed up in terms of COVID, and then the CARES Act money and now the American Rescue money being a 1-time or 2-time expenditure, I think we're going to see a fluctuation in applications based on, the next 4 years as the communities spend that money. And so, I, being in a metro area, we rarely get any money from any of our SCIP, LTEP programs as townships. We're cut out based on competition. And so this is so important to us, this organization, to our 9 townships in Ohio, in Montgomery County. And I'm sure that's that way in the other metro areas. The townships are in need as well. So I don't know if we should change that, just because we have that market volatility, at least for the next couple of years. But that's just my thoughts.
Any other thoughts? I mean, we certainly have the ability to modify, and if we want to do so, this is certainly the time to do it. Although if it is something that requires some investigation or somebody wants, we can always do that investigation and prepare a report and have a special meeting, before our application information goes out. So, Travis, any other thoughts, or Commissioner Dotson on that?
I guess, I mean, 2 things. I think we need to consider how much extra time this is putting on, the scoring process, and if it's worth that. And the second thing is, 11% were funded of the 6th and 7th ranked projects this year. That seems high to me. I don't know if that's counterintuitive or counteractive to what we want of spreading the wealth. If it's, if this is counterbalance, if it's not working to help spread the wealth, then I would be more inclined to say we shouldn't do it, but I don't have enough information to say if that's true or not.
Brad, what do you think? Or Mr. Bob?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm sorry I got in late. I was having trouble getting on, and I have to apologize. I have to leave early too. I have a doctor's appointment for an infected ear. I think we ought to do as much as we can when we can. So if we have the people to handle it, we should try to give more people the opportunity to have their units be approved. But I'm not in agreement to overwork our people if we're doing it by hand.
Commissioner Martin?
I'm going to echo the comments from Mr. Wolf. Being in the Central Ohio area, we've got a lot of metro applicants that they do pretty well. We don't have the staff to do the work as a township, and to compete with that. We've just recently started partnering with the Franklin County Engineers Office, who has designated a person to help us with our grants. And this is the first time in a long time that we've actually made a list. So.
I mean, so I guess, Jen, if we were to go back to 7 projects submitted, 5 scored, 2 fill-ins if necessary, and I know this is your first year doing it, so you didn't do it that way yet, but what would your anticipation be as opposed to increased or decreased workload? Because we would certainly have to go back to the intent to apply, just because that was such a problem we had, or just submitting 5 projects.
I was going to say you could still not do the intent to apply, but I only score the top 5, and then if something falls out, like the 6 projects that fell out this year, I would just know from the districts what the next ones are. So it's not that the top 5 need to have the intent to apply to say yes, and not that even the bottom 2 contingencies. So I guess it could be I only score them if one of the 5 drops out for whatever reason. Yeah, before I started scoring, I fully expected to come to this meeting and tell you we can drop the 6th and 7th because last year you only funded 1, so I assume it was going to be the same this year. But 6 of 57 seems significant to me as well. So I appreciate the discussion, and I don't know what the correct answer is. Yes, scoring all 7 projects is a lot of work, but I think people are getting more familiar with the program and putting in better applications, which is why we can get all 7 in one district funded. So it's I see the both plus side of doing it either way.
Chairman, this is Andrea Stevenson from ODOT. I'd like to recommend that maybe the Ohio Public Works Commission take a look at a couple different options or research this and maybe get back to the commission on what the most feasible approach is. I know there's a couple different approaches out there and maybe take some time to consider this. I know a lot of work goes into these types of things, and maybe just presenting a couple options to the commission would give them some time to make the consideration, and then the commission could assess the options and determine which approach to move forward with in the future. Just a thought.
Yeah, I
Thank
mean,
you.
I guess I would agree with that. I would make a motion that we continue it for one more year and see, what the data shows on year 3.
Okay, that sound reasonable to everyone?
I think so.
Okay. All right. So we'll come back to that, but before I forget and before we move on with it, as submitted, the slate for the current year funding, do we have a motion to approve that?
Can I?
Oh, yes.
Can I need a cutoff date for to continue down the list with contingencies as funds become available. I do also want to note, I didn't earlier, you'll see the district RLP funds is $0 in the spreadsheet. So we transitioned to a new online portal and we're fully into that now. But there was some delays in getting our district balances as well as small government balances. So our reps haven't had a lot of time with those balances. So all of the districts at this point weren't positive whether or not they had extra RLP money to give to small government. So over the next month before the project agreements get released, I will know if I have any extra RLP balances. And then we also just continue with our normal contingency process of old projects getting closed out and returning money. I will be able to fund down the list. Historically, the commission sets that cutoff date for the end of October. So I would suggest Monday, October 31st as a cutoff date to fund contingencies as listed. Part of the motion to approve.
Okay. Any thoughts, or can we have a motion to approve the slate and set October 31st as the deadline for accepting contingency projects?
So made.
Brad, is there a second?
Joe Martin, a second.
Thank you. Is there any discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Fine.
Those opposed, nay. Motion carries. Thank you. And Jen, thank you very much for all the work you did on putting this together. I know it was a lot. So with that, we will move towards the methodology discussion.
Chairman Zimmerman?
I'm sorry, yes.
If I may interject real quick, we did have a question from our YouTube channel asking when the slate would be made available for public view, please.
Jen, I would.
Yes, I will post it on the small government webpage as soon as this meeting is done.
Good question.
Thank
Good
you.
question. So our methodology with recommendations on changes was sent. And I don't know if we just if you want to put that on the screen and kind of go through the pages that you had, that we had talked about making some recommendations for.
Yes. You can see the agenda now, correct?
Yes.
Perfect. Oh, the first thing I do want to note is you'll see on the agenda, OPWC is changing our vernacular of how we reference rounds. So I called this the round 36 approval of what you just did. And next round is going to be referred to as round 2022-2023 instead of round 37. This year is going to be a transition time. We're going to fully implement the round with the calendar years for round 38. So we're letting all of our districts know and the commission know. So the round 2022-2023 is projects are applied for and solicited in 2022, and the project agreements go out in 2023. So that is just something to note, because if we just keep using the round 36, 37, that doesn't reference what year a project was made. So we can talk about round 28, but you don't know what year that project was funded.
And I think we're going to have a learning curve there. Those of us that have been part of the Public Works Commission for a lot of years have always done rounds. And I'm glad that we're keeping it as the date and the round. And maybe at a later date, we'll just get rid of the rounds altogether. But for now, it's good to have both.
Yes. And we had a discussion about using calendar years versus fiscal years, because technically this next round, the project agreements will be released in fiscal year 24. So July 1st of 2023 is fiscal year 24. But we decided to use the calendar years that the applications are submitted and agreements are released, to hopefully make it clear.
Oh, yeah. That's my
Yes. So the first bullet point there is the leveraging ratio percentages. So in the methodology, I highlighted it for you in your packets. I extended the percentages to 0.1%. So in our new WorksWise online platform, as well as our agreements that go out, Ohio Public Works now has the agreements go to 0.1%. So I wanted our methodology to reflect that. So in this past round of scoring, I did not use that 1/10 of a percentage, even though the applications were submitted in WorksWise, and these new agreements going out will have the agreement percentage to the 1/10 of a percent. So if the OPWC, this is the leveraging ratio, if the local share is 20.9%, they will only get 2 points. It will not be rounded up to 21%. But for the scoring of this past round, I did use whole number rounding, but I wanted the methodology to reflect what our new agreements will be. Do you want me to go through the whole list? Do you want to handle these one by one with a vote?
Yeah, let's just, unless any commissioner has a specific question about one of them, why don't we just go through everything and handle them in one motion at the end?
So any questions about that one?
Mr. Chairman, Fred Bobovnik, I have to leave and I apologize. Thank
Very
you
good.
for your time and your help.
Commissioner, thank you very much for attending, and we wish you the best in your appointment.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hey, Fred.
Thank you. The next one is the loan request percentages. So that is the same thing. I went to the 1/10 of a percentage on loan requests, because that's what our new system does. Any questions on that one? The next one was ability and effort for stormwater in the manual on page 4. There I highlighted the change I would like from the commission is that with our stormwater and solid waste ability and effort score, the villages and townships must provide their auditor certificate of estimated resources, and we tell them what funds we use if it's a road and bridge or a culvert project, and we say that they need to specify which fund is used for the purpose of stormwater, but I wanted it to be clear that if they do not specify what fund to use on that form, I will use the general fund. So that's what we've been doing in practice. I just wanted it in writing so everyone was aware. Any questions on that one? And the MHI data available date in the manual on page 7. So I did want to note we, for criterion 10 on MHI, we post that the data will be available no later than February 1st of a funding year. I did want to let the commission know that this year, due to a delay with the 2020 census, the data wasn't made available to me until March 23rd with the new 2020 data. So I did not use that 2020 data. I used the data that we had posted from last year that was posted on February 1st because we have a specific date listed. I don't foresee in my communications with my contact at the Department of Development, it was just due to the new 2020 census data for the delay. So I think we can keep that February 1st date. I just wanted you all to know that we didn't get new data for this year, but I like that we have a hard date in the manual, and I think we can leave it at February 1st going forward. It typically comes out in December. So, but along with that agenda item, I did want to discuss our use of the MHI data and where it comes from. So we use the American Community Survey, which comes from the Census Bureau. But the Census Bureau does not publish the remainder of township data anymore. So we get that from the Department of Development. They calculate that for us because the Census Bureau, they need a certain statistical threshold to publish that data. And so they haven't published that for about 5 years. And the Department of Development calculates that for us. So I was talking with Ed Simmons at Department of Development because I'm working on getting our district liaisons updated MHI or per capita income data. And so he gave me the per capita income data that they post every year that I was going to forward to our liaisons, but then he reminded me, let me know that the remainder of townships also is not available for the per capita income. And so we had a discussion on whether or not they could create that for us or for the district liaisons. And so I guess I just wanted to let the commission know about where our data comes from and if there was if you want to continue doing what we're doing and having the Department of Development make that calculation using MHI, or we could switch to them making a calculation using the per capita income, because he said that was a little, that data is a little more basic and easier to understand. So maybe the number that they come up with to calculate for the remainder of townships might be a little more statistically correct, just because they have a hard time with the MHI if there's a village that straddles 2 townships. They have to make some they have to take some statistical liberties on figuring out what that MHI is for a township. Because the last recommendation could be that we just use the data that the Census Bureau provides and don't use the remainder of township number, so that we would just use the MHI for the entire township, which could include village data. So I wanted that to be a discussion today to see what the commission thought.
What would you recommend?
Without having the history of why we use MHI versus per capita income, I recommend switching to per capita income and still having the Department of Development calculate the remainder of for the townships.
Do you know, is MHI specifically listed in code? I thought that there were a section of code that we work under that specifically
References
mentioned
MHI.
MHI, but I could here, let me so If other commissioners want to discuss for a minute, I'm going to look up a section of code quick so I can't see anybody. Code. So we're going to do 164.106. Infrastructure repair. All right, so these are the requirements that we have. Grants, loans, ability, federal funds, economic health, readiness, other factors. Okay, so excuse me, the rule that we work under for criterion 10, which is the median household income, ORC 164.06B8, is looking at the overall economic health of the particular local subdivision. And that is all. So there is no specific rule on us using median household income. I just want to make sure we weren't, if we were to move, that we weren't going to be violating code. So as long as we are using a metric that establishes the economic health of the political subdivision, then we're good for that. So sorry, I just want to make sure. So
no, thank you for double checking.
So could you explain what you think the difference would be as far as using one as opposed to the other? I mean, we've always used median household income.
Yes, and I will say I just spoke with Ed this morning, so I haven't fully fleshed out a recommendation. But just since it's not something that the Census Bureau delivers anymore because they've deemed that it at a certain statistical threshold. So I'm confident in the Department of Development's numbers to provide us for both MHI and per capita income, but he sounded like it, not that it's easier work for them, just that it is a more solid number to have with confidence in calculating that remainder of township because remainder of townships have typically a low population. That's why the statistical threshold isn't often met. That's why the Census Bureau doesn't publish it anymore. So my thought was just based on statistical thresholds.
Okay. So Dan, are you with Ohio EPA? Is that?
All right. I'm with OWDA. I'm here.
Oh, I'm sorry. I apologize.
No worries.
I took a guess and I was wrong. So, do you have any thoughts in terms of what OWDA does? Do you deal with median household income at all, or where are you?
We do. We use median household income for determining borrowers that would qualify for what we call our community assistance rate. So that's available for borrowers who have lower incomes, lower populations. We use the MHI data. We pull that from the ACS. Townships aren't eligible borrowers for us, so maybe that's a piece of it. But a project happening in a township would have to really come directly from the county. So we're either dealing with villages and above, cities, counties, things like that.
Okay.
I don't have any experience with the per capita income metric. We've really relied on the MHI, knowing that it's an imperfect.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I mean, the actual information you get from MHI is low. I mean, it's just the middle.
Right.
Tells you nothing on what's happening on either side.
And I will say, because this thought process and recommendation is fresh. I could look at if we would have used per capita income in the past, like in this set of data, to see how that could have affected any scores, just so we can know to compare how that data would change our scoring. Well, I guess I couldn't because I wouldn't have the remainder of townships. I could look at just using the full township data rather than the remainder of township data to see if we just want to switch to what the Census Bureau publishes
For MHI?
for MHI, to
Yeah.
keep with MHI but use the full township number rather than the remainder of township number.
Yeah, because, you know, when we are doing the affordability and we're water and wastewater, part of the information that we collect from the Census Bureau with that table 1901 is the median household. MHI is there.
Yeah.
And listed for those communities. So, you know, I guess it as far as putting that information together and getting that information, if our sources are having trouble providing it, I understand that would be a good reason to move. I don't like MHI, but I don't know per capita income. So I don't know if that is really, how much better of a metric is that? I don't know, do any other commission members have thoughts on whether we change our standard as far as developing the economic health of a community from median household income to per capita income?
Mark, what is the, what are you thinking that the end result would be?
Well, what I think is that if we have a community that has a cross section of income that doesn't follow a normal bell curve, that, you know, when we look at the median household income, the very middle, and what we like to see, and we see this in a lot of our data, is we have a good distribution of how many people are getting away, as we get away from that median, that there are equal number of people on this side that are making more than that. There are equal number of people on this side that are making less than that. And as we go all the way down to the scale to the richest and to the poorest, that curve is fairly well established. Okay. In those type of situations, I would think that we are going to have little to no meaningful change switching from median household income to per capita. However, a lot of our constituents, a lot of them, that if we look at the curve, it doesn't look like a bell at all, because we look at the median household income, just the very middle person. It's just, if you have, you know, 100, then or say you have 101, the 50th person right there, that is a 51st person. Whatever they make, that's the median household income. But then you can have a distribution where you have a couple of very wealthy people and this huge, and then everybody else is gathered around the middle and gathered around the middle on the other side. And then we have this huge number of constituents, this huge number of people that are in this very low income. All right, very low income, a couple of median income, you get your median household income, then you get, you know, a big group again that's just making more than median household income, and a few rich people. That is going to skew, MHI skews that to make the community look wealthier than it is, where per capita income would give a better representation of what that community really looks like. I think, although I don't have a lot of experience, just from what I know about per capita income and what I know about seeing what MHI does to communities. It can make a community look richer than it is, or it can make a community look poorer than it is. Usually it makes the community look richer. The communities we deal with, you know, as far as our program goes. I mean, any thoughts on that? That's more villages. I mean, once we get into our townships, it seems to be that the distribution is much more even. in our townships than, but some of our villages, they seem to have some very rich areas in our village and some very poor areas in our village. And sometimes those poor areas are much larger than our rich. So I don't know if I explained that correctly or right. I think that's my understanding of where we are from what I've seen with MHI. I understand that per capita could give us a better standard. It's just nothing we've ever done before. And moving for the sake of moving is one thing. Moving for a cause or for a just cause, I think, is another. So,
So in the case of having Jennifer do the additional work, what we would expect to see on, let's use our current spreadsheet, the MHI column for each of these applicants, we can see how closely the per capita matches to the MHI. And probably from that, we could make some type of a determination whether we've got good metrics or not.
Correct.
yeah, is that some information you think you can put together on where we are this year's program?
Yes, I can do that.
Trying to see. So, and that I assume is also compared statewide, right? There's a statewide per capita
Correct.
that is published, and then there would be a, it is the per capita, will that be calculated or is that published?
It's published. It's just the remainder of township will need to be calculated by the Department of Development.
Okay.
Just the same that it's calculated for MHI, just for our purposes.
And by remainder of township, you mean they're taking out the village?
Correct.
But going forward, if we stick with MHI, that's not going to be the case. It's going to be total township.
That could be another option. The Department of Development can continue to calculate the remainder of township for us. It's just the Census Bureau only publishes the whole township. The remainder of needs to be calculated, and they will continue to do that. And they just give it to us. They send it to us for our exclusive use.
But the per capita would be a much easier process.
Yes, but it would still have to be calculated by the Department of Development unless we use the full township number.
Oh, I see. So either way, that has to be calculated.
Yeah, so there's
Hey,
two.
that would be a drastic change in the township,
Mhm.
whether it's remainder of or total.
Yes, I assume that would be a large change for most townships.
Yeah, and I maybe that's what we need to do is maybe score these again, that just that metric, that criteria. And I'm happy to help with that if I can, and pull some of that together. And maybe if they're going to have to calculate things for us, we ask ODD to do that. Maybe we just pick a cross section of the data instead of asking them to do 80 calculations for us. Maybe we do ask them to do 5 villages and 5 townships, or 10 townships and 10 villages, and see what the difference would be. If it does not make a marketable change and it's easier for them to do, then it makes some sense. If we start seeing some real big number changes, then we may need to address how that criteria itself is affecting our equity in the program. And if it's hurting townships, or which we're trying not to do for sure, and so does that sound reasonable? We'll do some work on that. See?
For sure.
Okay.
What would be interesting to see is if you were to take your sample plus or minus 10 from the break from the cutoff.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. That's fair.
So do the 10 that were approved and then the next 10 that just didn't make the cutoff, and see what kind of an effect it has on our cutoff position.
Good idea, Commissioner Martin. Thank you.
Every once in a while.
Yeah.
We have a couple of comments from the YouTube audience.
Yes.
Stated that OWDA, Ohio EPA, Ohio Department of Development, and USDA rule also use the MHI. But another commenter stated that the ones that use MHI are typically ones that deal with water and sewer projects. And they stated that per capita income is one way to standardize across government type and project type. So just some food from thought for the audience there.
Well,
Thank you,
fantastic.
Will.
Thank you. I know we can't hear you or see you, but I certainly appreciate our audience and those that are contributing. It makes our commission stronger. So please feel free and thank you. Thank you very much. So we will look and if it's okay with the commission, we will go ahead and look at the top and bottom 5 off of the cutoff line and rescore that metric and see what changes we would have, and then we'll report back to the commission and see what we want to do, if anything, regarding MHI and
Mr. Chairman,
yes.
I suggested 10 on either side of the breakoff, which would be a total of 20.
Yep.
And the reason I did that is it seems like we would have a better collection of townships and villages by going with a few more numbers. And I don't know how much more work that creates for the staff, and I really don't want to just generate work, but I was trying to get a better sample size.
Yeah, I respect that, but I think we also want to get it right and get it right the first time. And so if we're talking about moving, it's a significant change from where we have ever been in our program. So I think we have an opportunity and a responsibility to do our diligence to make sure that if we are going to recommend a change, that we've got numbers behind it. You know, we've shown that when people ask why, we have an answer. You know, government doesn't always have to be inefficient. So.
Yes.
Very good. Any other comments about that? So we will get to that. Any other recommended changes?
What was next? Oh, the next item on the agenda was, or the last item in this number on the agenda is the district submission and ranking, about whether we stay at 5 or go to, or stay at 7 or go to 5. So that's in the manual on page 2 and page 7 and the methodology on page 5. So those are all of the proposed changes.
All right, and because we had talked, I think just a little bit earlier about just for another year, keeping it at 7, right? Is that what we had? Yep, so we'll take that. And then the methodology change you said on page 5.
It's just, where is it? Oh, there
Just
it
the
is. Thank you.
Percentages.
No, if we're going to keep 6 and 7 projects,
all
I
one.
just
I got you.
added 0 points to the methodology, just so it's written that you get 0 points from your district priority ranking if you're a 6th or 7th ranked project.
Okay.
So yes.
Okay. So the only other changes that we have, which aren't really methodology changes, is every year we need to advance our age of infrastructure year. So that will be modified. It's just so we can move from, since we can do a year back when it was built, that we account for the current year. We move that every year. It's not really a methodology change, but it will be a change in the book. So I just wanted to note that. Anything else? If not, can we have a motion to approve the recommended changes? I did notice that there was no actual recommendation changing from MHI to per capita. So that if we vote on making all these changes, it does not affect that discussion. That will be a different discussion we're going to have another day. So none of these changes affect that. So is there a motion to approve these recommendations?
Joe Martin will make that motion.
Is there a second?
Steve Wolf.
Any further discussion? And I will make sure just a couple of moments, if there were any discussions from our chat room or those that are listening. I know you may not necessarily be voting members, but we certainly want to make sure that changes we make to our program are recognized, and just give people a moment if there is anything in the chat. All right. If not, we will close discussion. All those in favor of approving the modifications to the methodology signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion carries. Thank you very much.
Tell me again
sorry.
who made that motion.
Joe.
Joe. And who was the second?
Steve,
Yes.
Steve Wolf.
Yep,
Thank you.
So the next thing we have on our agenda is the public comment via the YouTube channel chat function. We certainly encourage those that have something to say to please do so. We are here to serve, and we serve best when we know what our constituency is thinking. So if there is anything, we will go ahead and share those. If not,
Currently, there's nothing, but somebody might be typing, so let's give them a second or two.
okay, yeah.
Because there's
Well-
been a 5-second delay.
Oh, very good. In case I say something crazy.
Well, I can't stop that from happening,
Yeah.
but
So you got 5 seconds to stop it, right?
well, no, this is it transferring the stream over. There's a little bit of delay. The other one, unfortunately, you get 5 seconds to go. Oh no, but then happens.
Yeah. Oh,
hear it.
I just good.
I would say you're clear to proceed, sir.
Okay, thank you. And anyone that may be trying and can't, you can always email our administrator, and she will certainly share any comments you have with the commission. So please feel free to do so at any time. As far as other comments, this is the first opportunity we really have to be on the record to thank Linda Bailiff for all of the exceptional work that she has done, not only with the OPWC program, but also and especially our Small Governments Commission. While we are certainly sad to see her go, we are so much more excited to see Administrator Klein come forward and take the reins. So I guess formally, I would like to thank Linda for her past service and acknowledge and thank Administrator Klein for her service today, what she has done so far in this program, and what I'm sure she is going to be doing in the future. So thank you for your service, and thank you for what you do. I know oftentimes those in administration don't get their due for what they actually do, and you are appreciated, and I want to thank you for that.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So any other comments from any of our commissioners or anyone, honestly? Okay, our next job is to set up our next meeting date. Because we have a couple of agenda items that we do need to address, especially regarding the MHI and the and how we're going to do that, or per capita income. I don't know if you want to set a deadline or a date, administrator, or not. I tend to work best when I have a deadline to work under or behind. And you know, if we were to set something up in, I mean, it's May. Is it May? May.
It's May.
Maybe
well, the
for-
first.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, please.
Do we want to try to make this adjustment for this upcoming round? Or
Oh, well, I thought we were moving that way, and so we were going to try to do this expeditiously. But if it is something that we certainly want to talk about doing, changing the MHI to per capita for
next.
So it'd be 23-24.
The only reason is
How
I
about
don't
that?
know.
Yeah.
I don't know how long the Department of Development will need to calculate the
Ah.
remainder of townships for the per capita, and I don't know how long that will take. So-
Just a quick question. How much control does an applicant have over that number?
None.
So if we were to make the change for this upcoming round and we don't get the information in until sometime after the applications have been started to be received, or even right up to the deadline, it's not really going to affect the scores. The thing that it would affect is the delay of getting it scored. So at that point, I would think is when we would want to make that determination.
I mean, that's fair. You do populate that information. That is not something that, I mean, they can self-score it, but we put the official number in.
Correct. They can self-score because the information is we posted on our website. But yes, it is fully scored by me. But I do want to have the written methodology and applicant manual that we post to be full and correct while they are filling out their applications.
And when is that released, Jen?
Well, typically now is when I would
Oh.
release it after this meeting,
Okay.
because there's typically no, discussion of changing it. But so I don't actually know what our deadline would or should be.
Well, then I would support Mark's suggestion that it would be not this round, but then the following round of 23-24.
So for both that, and we'll also be evaluating the 5 or 7 applicants, and any modifications or changes we make to that will be for the 23-24 program, not for the 22-23 program. Is that fair?
I like
All-
that.
Yeah, okay. All right. Very good. So we will, so Administrator Klein and I will work on putting some of that stuff together. You may want to get on me and make sure I'm doing it. So, because without a deadline, I tend to procrastinate a little bit. So, but I will do my best. So, with that, are there any other comments? If not, we will establish our next meeting date. Do we have a recommendation, please?
Yeah, traditionally it's the second Thursday of May, which will be May 11th of 2023. And as of now, the virtual setting will not be, unless the legislation passes it to make it, to continue to allow that. So we typically meet at OWDA, unless
you're
virtual
still-
is permissible by law.
Still willing to help us with that at OWDA?
Yes, indeed.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you. Thank you. It is small government. Okay. So we will establish that as our next meeting date. And for now, we will schedule it at the OWDA office downtown. But if necessary, once again, we will go back and ask Will for his assistance once more. With that, if there is no further discussion, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
That's from Joe. Is there a second?
Yeah, I'll second.
Commissioner Dotson, is there any discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed, nay. Motion carries. We stand adjourned. Thank you all for your time and your service. Great discussion today. And we look forward to a great program next year. So thank you.
Great job, Jennifer.
Thank you
Jennifer,
all.
great job. Thank you.
Yep,
Thank
thanks.
you.
Great
Yeah.
wave. Yep. Great.